Good morning, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the last evening and the night. We definitely did. We are from ProSiebenSat.1. I don't know if you know us. We are a TV broadcaster, so most of the German people maybe know ProSieben and Sat.1. So that's what we do since 30 years as a company. And recently we started our own streaming platform, which is called Join. You can check it out. It's for free. You don't have to pay anything there. You just have to watch some commercials. And what we do in our data warehouse is all about the data that is produced by those platforms and by the TV channels. And we will give you a short overview how our data warehouse looks like. This data warehouse is brand new. We migrated it from an on-prem solution to the cloud during the last years. And we did some good experiences there, and that's what we want to show you today. So Rado will go into the motivation why we built this data warehouse in the cloud and how the architecture looks like. And then later on, I will look a little bit into the development cycle, so what we do there, which agile methods we use, and what features of, for example, Snowflake and Data Vault Builder we use there to make our life easier. And in the end, we have a small outlook for you, and then we have hopefully enough time for questions. Okay, just a few words about us. So Rado is in the data industry since 20 years, I think, and he is with us at ProSiebenSat.1 since 3 years, and he's deep into data vault modeling and all the stuff, so that's kind of your interests. I'm with ProSiebenSat.1 since 7 years. I started actually in the business department and was then shifted to the IT. And my focus is more how to bring together data warehouse development and agile methods. You will also see this in the slides. So now I hand over to you, Rado, to start with your part.
Thank you. Thank you, Robert. Nice introduction. I would explain you a little bit from our perspective, from data engineers, BI engineers, how we build, what we built, and how it looks like by us. So we didn't develop any special solutions like we heard yesterday here, but we are looking forward to apply them. We are really good experts. So what we have done.
Yeah, this one.
Okay, so our data warehouse, we put for us some goals. One of them, we wanted to migrate all possible warehouse solutions into one platform. One platform, it's always the topic in the data warehousing. Over time, we know even we have some kind of migration to the one platform. Over time, there are coming some new data warehouses, new initiatives separated. And this everything is, let's say, counterproductive on the long term. Maybe in short term, there are some benefits, but for long term, there is a really problem with efficiency to run multiple warehouses. The data can't be connected together and so on. The typical issues what I believe everybody knows. So what we have, a big amount of technologies, number of databases. I think we counted something like 5 different databases available, Hadoop system behind, or different, let's say, technical solutions applied, and everything is cost. Where we were also on-prem. And on-prem nowadays, okay, we see already big advantages of running in the cloud. One of them is, for example, the tools and the technologies can run much faster and sooner in the production as it was in on-prem, and we can scale as we are growing. So this is also something what we wanted to use and to live with. And at the end, as I said, Data Vault as a methodology, we wanted to align methodology, data modeling, and use this improvements or leverage the solutions leverage the data for bigger success, sooner solution. What we've got after migration, we just have 3 goals, but we got much more out of our project. So we reduce the number of data warehouses to 1 data warehouse. Of course, over time, we recognize that there is still work. We have something also for the future left. But basically, the old 2 data warehouses were merged to the 1. Technology was aligned. We had a problem in the past. We were doing from beginning, from data capturing, all the steps as data engineers. And we saw, okay, there is a much wide focus what we have to concentrate on, what we need to learn. So we was able to separate data engineering and BI engineering. Yeah. In the past, I was based on the team who was working where. I was counting, for example, for our team that we are 80% doing the data engineering instead of 20% doing BI, so getting the value from the data. So we just process the data, we spend a lot of energy there, and we were not high efficient there. So by separating us to the data lake team, which is concentrating for data engineering, data capturing, and putting the data in this single source of data lake, we, as the data product teams, we are able to concentrate more on the quality of data model, on the reducing the, let's say, duplicated solutions, increasing the quality of our products. We benefit from the modern technology. The old technologies like Hadoop, big data is not more the top. Even I would say it's already dying slowly, and warehouses are running much more efficient in the cloud. Also, number of different tools. What we have to do was reduced, and one tool which was locking a lot of resources for us was internally developed automation tool for Data Vault 2.0. And I would say something like 5-6 people were locked into the developing and created also the bottleneck when we needed to have a new feature, new data source, a new data source type to load the data inside the data warehouse. Then we lost the time. We had to wait for them. The tool is capable to process the data, and after that, we, as the data engineers, were able to load the data inside. So all the things were improved. What we are getting also from Data Vault Builder, there are features which we picked up, which are now we are really heavily using, is the improved or automatically generated documentation. So we have to write, of course, all the definitions and information in the tool, but at the end we have a nice generated documentation out of the tool, and this is going to be improved, as I've heard from Data Vault Builder guys, even more and more. And data lineage, we are also getting out of the box from the tool, and it's really helping us for when we are implementing. At the end, we are much more efficient, yeah. And as Robert will explain, we benefit from the capability of the tool, which is Data Vault Builder, and also database, the Snowflake, is helping us to work in sandboxes when we are developing new features. How it looks like at the end, pretty simple. Just for short description what we have. We have various sources which we are loading into UDP Lake, which is on Amazon S3, and Databricks is giving us the, let's say, the structural interface, SQL interface to the data. I'm not the big expert there, but what I need from them is to have to map our data from the standard layer, which is the latest phase where the data is already with the same format and stored for a long time there, just to create the external tables in the Snowflake. I can read everything there. The colleagues which are doing that, they are concentrating only on data engineering. They are writing even their own application system which is processing this data. We tried also the different commercial tools, but because of let's say lack of flexibility, we have special sources. Everybody has a special sources, and we had to wait for them or parallel develop the alternative solution to the commercial tool. Then starts to grow the tool named Colapam, which is then we decided to get rid of the commercial tool, and this by side developed tool became to be our basic tool for processing data into the data lake, doing all the data capturing and providing the data for data warehouse. And the data warehouse part after data lake, here we are working for product teams with one database only, Snowflake, and one tool, Data Vault Builder, where we apply the data vault methodology to zero and pushing data from the staging, raw vault, business vault, and creating our data marts and also data interfaces. Data interfaces we understand as when we communicate from data warehouse machine to machine or system to system. And data products are in form of reports or some BI dashboards. All the orchestration of these data pipelines is done by Airflow. Even Data Vault Builder has its own scheduler, but it's good to have triggers from outside systems like UDP Lake, which is telling us which source has a new data, and then we can start our processes. So not that we are not capable to use the Data Vault Builder features, but this is system-to-system interaction is much easier when we have some central orchestration tool. And for simplicity, we took Airflow. We had also in previous system good experience with that, so it was working for us very well, so we didn't change that. We changed the way how we are using it, so we just configuring the YAML file, and that's it. So we have the standard generated DAX in the Airflow, but I think we can speak about that a little bit later in detail if you have interest. So at the end, we got some data warehouse. Just for imagination, we think it's quite a big data warehouse. Of course, when we heard about Raiffeisenbank and so on, we can't compete. But our size is not so small. I would say we integrated 63 different source systems. Yeah, we are not more, as I said, locked by that. So this is done by separated team. They know what they are doing. They are leveraging when they learn something from one source, and they can apply this to other source. What is benefit from that? That we have only one standard process to get the data into data warehouse, so to the Data Vault Builder. What we are processing more than 700 million data points in the day. So the amount of data which has to be processed over the night. So mostly we are processing data daily, overnight, from midnight or after midnight till 8 o'clock are usually all the data in, processed and available for customer. Oops. Yes. Now, for data modeling perspective, it's a problem to explain you how we model, but what we have got is something like 420 hubs with 620 satellites connected by 235 links. And where the big amount of data is stored is in transactional links, and our, let's say, know-how is put into 1,200 business rules, which in Data Vault Builder is the business rule is the SQL statement which processes the data, calculates KPIs, and all the work which has to be done is done here. So this is just one of the data model, raw vault model, just for imagination. All the data we are providing into the 25 data marts, which contains 30 fact tables and 130 dimensions or a little bit more. Yeah, just for imagination or the explanation, what we understand by data marts is usually we separate the customers and the products into separated data marts, and then we can connect them to the BI tools or reporting tools or providing data to the other systems, other departments as a pre-aggregated data or something like that. The whole data warehouse without data lake currently contains more than 200 terabyte data, and daily growing really, really fast. But we already see very easy process just to extend our warehouse. We are not limited by issues like on-prem that time to time we got message, okay, can we something delete or something here? It's instead of doing something with data, so we just increase. It's much cheaper in compared to the storage which is available on the on-prem. We don't have to pre-buy the hardware, change the hardware. Yeah, this is something what bring us also efforts reduction, cost reduction, all the benefits what we are getting from cloud. After migration, we got some feedback from the teams, and some points which I can tell you what the colleagues are mentioning about what we achieved, what we built, and what is I would say really we are happy to have this process behind us, and we can say it was a big success for us. The key cultural and organization success factors are, for example, that everybody from the department can take bring some new solutions, take a decision. Only important thing is to share the information that some kind of decision was taken. We are not, it's not written in the stone. We can improve the decisions, so on. But it's the process that when we agree on some solution, on some, if it is naming convention, how we process the data. So we have really, I would say, democratic principle how we take initiatives and how we take a decision. Everybody is encouraged to make, for example, solution design, to design some kind of processes. There is a lot of supporting systems or CI/CD pipeline, testing approach, bringing new tools. All the ideas are really appreciated and people are encouraged to do it. Very simple process, and we have no barriers to take any initiatives, cooperation between the teams. And this is very, very important to say. The tool or the technology, all the technology what we are using, it's supporting supporting cooperation between the teams to share the data from Snowflake, zero copy data by creating other solution, providing the data to the team for development or to the other teams. This is all everything supporting the cooperation between the teams. We can, strongly thinking about applying the data mesh ideas to us and improve the cooperation by providing the data products from one team to another or outside. And I would say one example from the innovations which are also very appreciated, and people are proud of all the innovations we introduced. For example, during migration, the colleagues were self-initiatives and they provided, for example, the scripts which reads the metadata from the old system and automatically create for example, the source system, source labels into data vault builder without anything to program or to type into the tool. So this kind of process was, I would say, more than 50%, 80% maybe automated. So we got a lot of benefits from such innovations. And other innovations I mentioned already, we improved also how we build the decks in the Airflow for orchestrating. I just need to write 5 lines into YAML file, and I have another, let's say, pipeline already orchestrated, scheduled. I can choose if it is triggered by other process, or I can schedule it. Yeah, maybe you know by different triggers. So this is from my side, like high-level perspective what we have done, and some details will pick up Robert.
Yeah. So as I said, we will have a short look or longer look at the development cycle, and we will start a little bit from the organization perspective, how we plan our work with kind of an agile approach that we set up. Then I will dive into our development process, which uses sandboxing, and I will tell you what it means, and that's one of the cool things that we do. And then, of course, we have this aspect of testing and automation, so we set up a small testing framework to ensure the quality of our products, and I will show you how this works. And last but not least is the aspect of operating our products and monitoring them so that we are sure that the business always has the right data. So when I come to the organization, we have a challenge that we already had in the past and still have now is that we have like 20 to 30 developers distributed into 4 to 5 product teams. And they have, of course, some shared components that they work on, especially in the data warehouse. And we somehow have to align this and prioritize this. And what we said, so we use Scrum in the teams itself, and our Agile coaches made this approach to scale up the Scrum into a 4 weeks release cycle. We call it release cycle. It's just a virtual construct to have a release and something to work with. So that's the center of the idea, and each release cycle starts with a cross-team planning. You see this on the left, and the input of this cross-team planning is coming from all the 4 teams. So our product owners have prepared roadmaps, what they want to do, and they align in this meeting about the dependencies so that we can see where are dependencies, where teams have to work together within this 4 weeks. And we also have community of practices. I will talk about them in a few minutes. That is something where we work on shared components. So if we have this release planning, then we get like the main goal for the next 4 weeks. And it's also formulated somewhere in Confluence so that everyone can read it and everyone is committed to reach this goal. Of course, all the teams have their own little topics, but if we have like an emergency, people get ill, a lot of people are on holiday, then the release goal is the stuff that we work on for the 4 weeks. And during these 4 weeks, we have the normal sprints. So we have 2-week sprint cycles in the teams. The teams set their own goals, their own sprint goals, so that they have the focus for their work. And so that's the normal Scrum framework. And what also happens every 2 weeks is this so-called cross-team refinement, where the teams come together and speak about the topics, where they have dependencies for the next release cycle. So they kind of prepare the next release cycle there. And that was the initial idea of that meeting. We still do that, but we also speak about stuff that comes up during that release in this cross-team refinement. The COPs also have working sessions in that time, and yeah, that's basically the main events there. And what we get out of it is like the release increment. It's not like that at the end of release we deploy somewhere, we deploy during the sprint increments like every 2 weeks or even more often. And we heard, for example, yesterday that it is important to communicate to the outside world what happened in the release, and we do it there so everyone, so there's a big review every 4 weeks and everyone gets informed what is new in the data warehouse from a business side as well as from the technical side. So this thing is, of course, also agile, so we adapt it as we need it. So in the initial setup, we had, I think, 2 more meetings here, but we did not need it. Developers were not happy because they were spending too much time in meetings. So we reduced that, and I'm sure that in 1 year it will look a little bit different. So let's move on to the communities of practice. So the communities of practice are something that we set up because we do not only have to work on the data warehouse itself, on the modeling, on analyzing the data, on providing data marts, but we also have additional tasks like setting up CI/CD processes, CI/CD pipelines, the whole topic of scheduling, how we use Airflow. Then we had to set up a testing framework and architecture, and all those topics that are needed in all teams and that are the same for all teams are managed in communities of practice. So the community of practice had 3 focuses. So the first is the domain, what we do. So I already mentioned a few things about it. And the second thing is who does it. So our approach is that for each community of practice, each Scrum team has at least 1 representative there, so that each team can contribute to the stuff that the COP is doing, but also that each team knows what is happening there. Because you also have to make clear what they are developing, because teams will use the stuff that is done in the COPs. So that's kind of a second focus aside from the work on the product, that each team goes into COP. And for the individual developers, also that it has the perspective that he can not only do data warehouse stuff, but he can also develop in other areas. So this assignment is basically not fixed. So if I like to do testing for half a year, I go more into testing COP. If I'm more interested in architecture later on, I can go to the architecture COP. And those are the communities that we have right now. They are also flexible, so they can change. If a new topic comes up, like for example data governance or front-end development, then there would be a new COP. It mainly depends on the people, on the teams that say, okay, we need to investigate this and this topic, and then they found this group. How they work, so basically most of the COPs have an event that is called Team Huddle, so they come together once a week to work on the topics. So then they also have this fixed slot in their calendars so that it's kind of organized. And what we use there, so we make extensive use of pair programming there in those sessions, but also in the teams. because usually you have people who are experts in one topic and other people are joining, and pair programming is for us one of the main tools to spread knowledge. And of course, COPs also present in the review what they have done so that everyone knows about it. And from the organizational point of view, most of them use Kanban backlogs. Those backlogs are also transparent for everyone, so everyone sees what COPs are doing. And from the more from management point of view, we use objectives and key results. So that's like a 3-month cycle where we set objective on a higher level, and COPs have to put an objective there so that they also can report to our management what they are doing. Okay, so this was more on the organizational point of view, how we set up our work. And the next slide is, for me, the most important one because it's about the development process. So same problem here. We have a lot of teams. We have a lot of people. They have to work together on shared objects. So how do we organize that not everyone is working on one environment and destroying the stuff of the other people and creating conflicts there? And I think yesterday there was the question about zero-copy cloning of Snowflake, and that's exactly what we use here to set up sandboxes. So with zero-copy cloning, we can clone from the productive environment the data on Snowflake into a database which we call Sandbox for each developer. And what zero-copy cloning does, it's just copying the metadata from the production environment. So I have done on my Sandbox kind of the metadata, and these metadata are pointing to the productive data. And as long as I'm not changing anything, it points to that productive data. If I change something, then there's new data generated on my Sandbox. So the advantage is this copy does not cost us a lot. I think only the metadata operations, which is quite low. And so we get an environment with productive data where everyone can develop. So usually, if the developer starts a new user story, he pulls it from the Jira backlog, creates a sandbox for that story, and works there. And of course, the advantage is I have my own isolated environment where I can do everything. I can code there, I can test there, I can do experiments. For example, if I don't know how Data Vault Builder is loading certain kinds of data, I can just try it out there and I don't interrupt anyone else. So that's quite cool. That helped us a lot, and for most of the people in the team, that's the main feature of this whole cloud migration that we are using now that we did not have before. And then, of course, if you are ready with development, you have to deploy it, and it's also quite easy. We have so that the tool provides us interfaces, API interfaces where we can simply build up CI/CD pipelines in GitLab that then push to dev and to test and deploy later onto the productive environment. So what else did I wanted to say? I think, yeah, that's the key of it. So everyone who is using Snowflake should try out to set up something like this, because it really speeds up development and it creates a lot of security for the developer. So this was like a game changer for us to do it like that. Now I will go a little bit into how we test. So this right part of the deployment. So basically, we try to test on each environment. As you can see at the bottom, to make automated testing, we use 3 kinds of tools. Soda Core is a testing framework where you basically configure test cases in your YAML files. So there are some predefined patterns, test cases that you can define there. So that's super easy. You can also write SQL statements there for testing. And that's kind of the core testing engine we use. It's then executed on GitLab and scheduled in Airflow. And in the sandbox, so during the development cycle in the sandboxes itself, we try to use kind of a test-driven approach. So where we say, okay, you as a developer, you have your sandbox now. You have to implement a new feature, for example, a new business rule. then start to write some test cases. Search some test data and write test cases for the new business rule. And if you have the business tests in place, you can start to test it. It will fail, of course, because you didn't implement anything so far. And then you can start your coding. So implementing the business rule, writing SQL statements. And in each step of writing this code, you can run the test and see if it's green. And when it's green, then you are happy. But you can also say, okay, this is just like a first iteration of the code. I will refactor it a little bit and make it better. And it's super easy because I have the tests in place. And if I adjust something, so our rule is that usually each object should have a basic set of tests. You always can do more, but the basic set of tests needs to be in place so that if you change something, you first can run the tests. Okay, they are green, then you change something, are all the tests still green? So what we propagate is intensive testing on the sandboxes, so that the quality of the code that goes out of the sandbox is already quite high. So then we have our 3 environments. So on the dev environment, it's kind of an historical artifact. It's nothing much is tested there. We just create the deployment package and deploy it on the environment and want to see that it is deployable. That is everything that happens on the test environment, on the dev environment, sorry. On the test environment, then this one is kind of flexible to use. So as we have different product teams, they have different requirements for testing. So some product teams are very brave and say, okay, we did a lot of testing in the sandbox, we can go to prod and see if it runs there. Other product teams have are more strict, also from their business departments, and they will keep, for example, their code for 1 day on the test environment, because on the test environment, a lot of the data loads are running, and so you can test your data after it was loaded once. So that's what we call quality tests and regression tests. And of course, you can also run jobs manually there and test then if you want to go faster to the productive environment. And some teams do the user testing there if it is required, because also the test environment has the productive data. And then when we go to prod, to the production, we also have tests running on prod. They are not as detailed as the tests on the test environment, on the sandbox. That's more like general stuff as you see here. So I would call it like data validation checks that run after each data mart was loaded, so to see that there are no duplicate rows, that we have row counts. Don't laugh that we are checking row counts. Every few months we have the problem that something is not loaded, someone did something wrong, and a dimension is magically empty. So we want to avoid this and check the row counts. Some teams also have called what reference KPIs. So for example, one KPI that we measure is video views. So how many people watched a format on join. So as soon as you go to join and you click there, you are counted as a video view. And this is kind of something that we can estimate how many video views we will have a day. And if this drops or is much higher, then this test fails and someone has to look at it and check if this is really true. So these reference KPIs are more like business knowledge that we have, and if these KPIs are changing too much, then there's definitely something wrong. Okay, so the key message that I have from this slide, if you have the opportunity, use test-driven development and try to test on each environment. It's really valuable, and it also speeds up your process because you make sure that if you make a mistake in the chain, you will recognize it quite early. And what we want to have, that if we make a mistake, we want to recognize it and not the business. Because then it's always a bad thing if the business says, okay, something is wrong, then we will have a lot of stress and a lot of complications there. Okay, the last slide is about the operations. So everything is on production environment now, and I already said that we have like those data validation tests running there. And the question is, how do we get informed if something is wrong? And we use this setup here. So our scheduling tool, Airflow, together with the loads that are running in Data Vault Builder, of course, are creating some metadata about loads in Data Vault Builder. Airflow generates the testing results that we are running there. And we have like a monitoring built up, which consists of two parts. So the upper part is like the automated part, where we check automatically that everything is fine. So we check all the tests that I just said, that source data was delivered, that jobs did run at all. So sometimes it could happen that we don't get data. So then the data load for the source is not running and parts of the products are not refreshed. So we also need to find out that each job was running, if a job did run successful, and if all these quality tests were successful. So this is checked automatically. And then if one of those tests fails, a message is sent to our Slack channel. For us it is Slack. We will change that to Teams in the future, but it doesn't matter. So what I always tell when I'm the person in charge, so the person in charge is the caretaker, he has to check all the job runs in the morning. And usually when I do it, I get up, look on my smartphone and see if there is an alert from Slack. So if there's an alert from Slack, I know, okay, something went wrong in the production. I have to check if not, I can be I can be super relaxed and get some coffee and the day will be well. So, and it is really like that. So the operations guy has just to check the Slack messages. If there's nothing, everything is fine. So that's kind of the responsibility of this caretaker person. So that's always one dedicated person from the team that is responsible that operations is done. It does not mean that this person has to do this alone. So we have dailies every day. If there's a lot of stuff, this person is responsible for distributing the work. So if we have a lot of incidents on a productive environment. Okay, in the case of an incident, sure, a Slack message is not enough. You have to see something more. And we built some dashboards there in Tableau to see the data loads in one dashboard. And that's the tool that the caretaker is using to see what is going on. What the caretaker also has to do, he has to kind of communicate to the user. So that's not yet automated. So we have to write the user in a Teams channel, hey, your product will be late. We are on it. Please expect it in 2 hours or 1 hour. So that's the main channel to the user that the caretaker is there. And also the users know who the caretaker is. So in case that they have an issue, they can contact this person and not a random person in the team. Yeah. So and from the user perspective, they also want to know what is going on. So we build user dashboards for them so that they can see on a high level if their data is there. So they will see if all the sources are loaded and if all the tables in the data marts are loaded, because sometimes they have the requirement that they don't need all the sources. So if one source is not loaded, they can already start to do some work or some reporting. And the last important thing with Snowflake, which was the important topic here last year, is the cost monitoring. So we did a huge migration. We were focused on migrating stuff to get this thing done, but we also have to know what costs we create. And I can tell you that the costs that we create right now are too high. So we have to cut them by 50% somehow in Snowflake. And we just know this because we set up this cost monitoring. And it's not like the basic monitoring that Snowflake has. Our aim is to see on a team level which team is creating which costs in Snowflake, and also which business is creating which costs in Snowflake by querying their data. So that's kind of the vision that we have, and that's part of our monitoring efforts. Okay, yeah, that's all about the testing. And I will just give you a short outlook on what we want to do in the future. So first, important thing that we found out is to have a good and close cooperation with the vendor. So whatever database you are using, whatever ATL tool you are using, try to be good with your vendors, try to be in close contact with them. That's what we do, and so we get continuous improvement also in the products that they provide to us. Then we have to improve the cost monitoring, so we have kind of all the technical stuff in place. So the Tableau dashboards, Datadog dashboards, they are there. And now we have to kind of establish the ritual in the teams that they are looking regularly on those dashboards, because this is a team responsibility, and that's nothing that we want to steer in a central way. All the teams have to look at it. So another big issue is, as I told you, we did all this migration. Focus was on migrating stuff, and we created some technical depths there. So we need to set up a better governance with regards to architecture, with regards to decisions. Even as we heard yesterday with regards to semantics. So Radu showed you in one slide that we will have like 130 dimensions. Some of them are like duplicated, so we have to conform them. Some of them have the same name, like we heard yesterday the customer, but it's maybe something completely different, so we have to improve our governance somehow. And I already showed you that we did a lot of automation to make our work easier, but we are still not at the end there. So there is more stuff that we want to automate, maybe automate more for the caretaker role to make that easier, write automated messages to the users. So that's kind of what's ahead for us. And so we are at the end, and I think we have 15 minutes for questions. There's one.
Hello.
Hi.
How do you manage your Snowflake setup DDL? Do you have it in Terraform, or when you set up your roles and permissions, use Permafrost, or is it part of Airflow like most hooks?
So it's kind of all of that. So for the permissions of Snowflake, we have like a central platform team that does all the technical stuff. So they use Terraform to set up the Airflow environments, like permissions, for example. For our data warehouse, so we have two parts there. The first part is everything that Data Vault Builder is doing. So Data Vault Builder is creating the Snowflake objects automatically, and they are part of the release package that is generated by Data Vault Builder. But as Data Vault Builder is focused on the Data Vault part and not so much on the data mart information layer part, we have to deploy this for ourselves, and we use a tool that is called Schema Change there. It's basically, it has two components. So Schema Change has two components. First the DDLs, and then which DDLs have to be executed in a package. So it's actually quite simple.
I will add to that the perspective of BI engineer. I really don't care how it is done, so I'm not interested to. It's just working for me. It's one click in the tool where I can provision my sandbox, for example, and everything is done. I just need to wait for another Slack message. Your sandbox is created. So this is something what runs really well. And when you are, for example, beginner in the team, you don't need to learn how to do this. There is really simple. You just put the name of your sandbox. So usually we are taking the story, Jira story number there, and I have a created sandbox. I can choose from which environment. Usually it's production, as Robert said. I can choose also other sandbox to be cloned, or another environment, testing or development environment based on the work. Or I can create even an empty sandbox without data, just to experiment a little bit, testing new version of Data Vault Builder. All the possibilities what developer can dream of, I have, and for me it's just working. So when you want, you can participate and improve this process with the team dedicated for that. So we have this technology team, UDP technology named, and collaborate or work with them, or just use it as I said. I don't really need to care. So I concentrate on my work as a BI engineer or data engineer.
Okay, and the developer clones, they are like owned by like the same Snowflake user, or like has each like developer have their own Snowflake user, they all have the role, and then they also have their own data vault builder users.
So we have single sign-on integration, so everybody is connected there, and all the scripts provisioning our environment already provide you all the rights you need for doing it.
So
Everything is just
so maybe we have
simplified.
like a small graphical user interface in the browser that is the interface for us to start this sandbox creation. And what happens in the background is that I think this is configured in Terraform, so all this zero copy cloning is in Terraform scripts. So it does the zero copy cloning, it creates an EC2 instance for Data Vault Builder and starts Data Vault Builder there. And it also creates an Airflow instance. So there are these 3 things that are done when creating a sandbox. And then it also manages all the user and access rights. So each developer then has its personal
Agile branch, Airflow there.
Yeah, personal user that Rado just said. So I'm logged then in all the tools into Snowflake, into Data Vault Builder, into Airflow with my personal Active Directory user, Windows user in that case.
Maybe shortly, it was not said so exactly. We can also share this sandbox. Yeah, we don't have so we have all of us have access to the sandboxes. We can work together. We can delegate the work to the colleague when somebody is not available. For like now we are here, so colleagues can continue with our sandboxes. So we don't have some kind of hidden working areas. So it's really accessible public. You don't step on top of each other. So we have separated environment, and when you are failing there, nobody is affected.
Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned 4 Agile teams with developers, and also mentioned product teams.
That's the same.
The same.
Yeah.
Working in one organizational unit, like
Yes.
one department. Okay. And then you mentioned that you're thinking about introducing data products and data mesh concepts.
Mm-hmm.
How would that fit in your current setup, your architecture, and your organization with also data work?
That's an interesting question. So the whole topic of data mesh is something that we did not think it through so far. It pops up every now and then, and let's start with the problem that we have. So we have these 4 teams and the 20 people that work on. So we already have data products that what we call our data marts data products. So to give it a name and that every user knows what it means. And nevertheless, we have these 20 people, but we still have a huge list of stuff that the business wants to be done. So we are still the bottleneck. We cannot do this. And we have some business units that are very deep into the data topic. They can write their own SQLs. And we are thinking about how to use that. And data mesh would exactly be, or this philosophy that you have like the data engineers, the BI engineers more closely to the business units, maybe even into the business teams, might be something that will help us there. Actually, how this will fit into our architecture, I don't know, because we did not think it through. I think that when it comes to this whole idea of utilizing the knowledge and the capacities that are in the business teams, when it comes to that, we have like maybe different levels of working together. Like some business units will just do the dashboarding. Some business units might maybe more deeper into the data and SQL stuff, so they can write SQLs. For some business units, it will be okay if there are 2 data engineers with them in a team. So we have to explore on which level we want to go with each business unit. But we are just in the beginning there, so I cannot tell you how it will look in 1 year or 2 years. Does it answer the question somehow?
Absolutely similar thinking over here, so
Yeah.
But, yeah, thanks so much.
Maybe one thing to that, what we should not underestimate is also we are not that far in this whole data thinking at ProSiebenSat.1. So the business still has the idea that someone has to provide them all the stuff they want because they have a lot of stuff to do right now. So they don't have that much time to build data products. They don't only build data products when they see that they need something, they don't get it from somewhere else, so they build their own stuff. That's kind of the problem a little bit. Yeah. So we have always the challenge, even if we want to work closer with the business, that we get the capacity from them.
I think from my perspective,
Yeah. Exactly the same, right?
from my perspective, we will try, from developer perspective or from data engineering perspective, to do the technical part of data mesh initially, and we will inspire and get the message. We have full bag of ideas here from these 2 days. What we will tell our management in order to join the business colleagues that they are working with us, that they feel the responsibility, and then they can envision the products which we have already semi-separated, no, quite good separated as a business unit. So I think it's good base to start to use the data mesh, just we need to process it.
Sorry, I didn't see who was first.
I didn't see it.
I don't know, sorry.
We have 5 minutes left.
It's time, it's time.
Yeah.
That's fine.
No, fine. You will try to.
I really appreciate the approach to push operational use to a caretaker, and that caretaker is caring about people, not only about technology. So this is what we need to come in front of the business. And I saw a lot of projects, and we saw a lot, where the people said, okay, we need this, but we postpone it to a later stage, and we know later stages never happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's the issue. So, well done.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
we follow the DevOps, and this is something which we practice really well.
It's so easy, but I see what the devil. And my question, you talked about these 4 product teams.
Mhm.
Product teams are more on the data mart, and you said, yeah, they are discussing about the core components, the core platform processes, or what about shared data aspects. How do you come to an ordered list at the end? Is there a last resort, a data architect, or manager to decide, or is it really the group? Is it group capable to decide it for example?
You mean the priorities, or?
Yeah, the ordered list at the end in your back.
We have a business task, which is coming from business, and we have guaranteed or agreement that always we have also technical part. So you know that when you let the problems being there, even the product is running, provides the correct data, but you have some problem. If it is cost, if it is time, if it is, I don't know, shared objects, which which can be candidate for conforming. This is this technical part. So we have we are using this community of practices mostly, and cross meetings to communicate the problem, and inside the community practice we search for solutions. Doesn't mean that community of practice is also implementing the solutions designed there, but we can, for example, speak to the product team, please do this and this improvement, this is the technical improvement. So we have some kind of 2 types of tasks inside the backlog. And yeah, it's at the moment, I would say, working well, so we don't wait for each other. So we have our pace, which can be always improved, but yeah.
So do you talk about the team level or the cross-team level? Because the answer is
Cross-team level.
Yeah.
What I see project is we have 4 different product teams very business oriented.
Yeah.
And then there is a lot of discussions what to do first on the platform. So first team is saying I need customer data, second team is saying I need product data, third team is saying I need financial data. So it is how to organize the order list for the cross-functional things.
There's no easy answer to that.
Transparency, for example.
Transparency is
we
one.
share all the stuff.
Yeah. So we have these meetings where the Scrum Masters, not the Scrum Masters, the product owners come together and they have to discuss it and they have to align it and they have like hard discussions sometimes on the topic which business unit is now more important than the other one. And that's the discussion they have to do. And then we will get this ordered list. And sometimes they try to get out of it by saying, okay, we have 2 topics that are important, but there are some...
That is the purpose of the ordered list in the
Yeah.
organization, right?
Yeah, but then there are some people in the team like me who say, okay, that's not a priority. So what is the most important topic? And for me, everyone has to understand this, that if we don't have to focus on the most important topic, we will get slow and will deliver later. So it's valuable to say what is the most important topic, even if that topic, or let's say that data source is not for my team, but for another team. And my data source maybe comes later, but that's again, as we talked yesterday, a mindset topic. Yeah, it's not easy. So for example, only 1 minute left. When it comes to the release goal, we have like agreed that we have an ordered list with 3 topics there. So to show the variance of topics, but it's still an ordered list. So we have 3 release goals that are ordered.
Thank you.
What did you use for your data tests? For your data test program?
So the tool we use is soda testing. We have it on that slide, yeah. So it's a framework that it is executed in a Docker container, and the tests are defined in a YAML file. And so, for example, we have for each, so we call it business rule, for each business rule a YAML file, and all the tests are executed automatically using this soda. So there's a GitLab, not GitLab. There's a container running on GitLab, which is running soda, and basically GitLab is running the soda tests. And this GitLab pipelines are then scheduled via Airflow. That's the idea behind it.
Maybe some site information. We are getting the information from this test via Slack, where we have already the links already inside the message. So with 1 click, I can see the process, the log of the results, and everything I can really fast investigate.
So there are some tools on the market which do this testing. We decided for Soda because we can use SQL there. In other testing frameworks, you have to write Python code. That's not the right thing for us. And the Soda core is for free. They also have like a cloud version, but one bad thing in the cloud is that everyone wants to sell you something, and if you buy everything, you are again go out of it with quite high costs. So you have to find the balance, which tools you want to pay for and which things you need for free or have to do by your own. Okay, time is up. So we are still here today. If you have questions, want to discuss something with us, feel free to talk to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.